Okay, it's really important to be able to factor so that you can use the zero product property to solve quadratic equations. So solving equations is something that you're going to do for the rest of your mathematical career, however long that is. And the zero product property plays a big part in that. The zero product property you actually learned a long time ago, but now we're going to apply it to algebra. So the zero product property says that if you multiply two factors, A times B, and that product is 0, then one of the factors has to be 0. Then either A has to equal 0 or B has to equal 0. This is called the zero product property, and it's one of my most favorite properties because I use it all in any high school class that I teach. I'm using the zero product property. Here's our first example. We've got x plus 5 times 2x minus 6, and that product is equal to 0. Now, I have two factors, so either x plus 5 has to equal 0 or 2x minus 6 has to equal 0. So this is what we're going to do. Our first step is highlight each variable factor. Each variable factor. So I'm going to use two different colored highlighters because I have two variable factors. One of them is x plus 5 and the other one is 2x minus 6. So we highlight each variable factor, and then step 2, we set each one of them equal to 0. So we set each one equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to take x plus 5, set it equal to 0, and I'm going to take 2x minus 6 and set it equal to 0. X plus 5 equals 0. I subtract 5 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 5. 2x minus 6 equals 0. We add 6 to both sides. 2x equals 6. Divide both sides by 2, and x equals 3. So we get two answers. We get x equals negative 5, and we get x equals 3. That's one way to write our solution. Another way to write our solution is x equals negative 5, comma 3. And a third way that you might see the solution is just the set of numbers that's using braces to show a set of numbers, negative 5 and 3, as our solutions. So this is just three different ways to write your answer. So 3 different ways to write your answer. You choose the way that's best for you, and on a worksheet you might be faced with any of these for the answer key. Okay, let's try one. So you're going to try this problem. We've got 6k plus 9 times 4k minus 11 equals 0. And see if you can solve for k. See if you can solve for k. When you're ready to reveal the answer, press play. So make sure you're pressing pause so that the answer doesn't come before you actually work out the problem. Okay, so what I got for an answer is k equals negative 3 over 2 and 11 over 4. So hopefully you're right on track. If not, you're making yourself a note, and when we have live class meetings, you can bring that question up then. Meanwhile, we're going to go to another example. So the next example says solve x squared minus 8x minus 48 equals 0. x squared minus 8x minus 48 equals 0. This is not in factored form. So this is not in factored form. So now we need to add a step. We need to first factor. And that's why factoring is so important in algebra. How do we factor x squared minus 8x minus 48? And I'm going to still keep the equation there. I'm going to put equals 0, but I'm looking to factor so that I have my factors equals 0. Well, how do we get back to x squared? X times x. And then how do we get back to negative 48? Hopefully you remember, you go off to the side. I'm going to have 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and 6 and 8. And those are all the pairs that multiply to be 48. We need to multiply to be negative 48, but to add to be negative 8. So I'm going to have different signs. I'm going to have a positive and I'm going to have a negative. And I need to multiply to be 48, but when I add the two together, they need to add or subtract to be 8. And that's going to be 4 and 12 right here. We need negative 8, so I'm going to put positive 4 and negative 12. I'm going to check the outer, negative 12x. The inner is 4x. That gives me my negative 8x. Now that I know that I've factored this properly, I'm going to highlight each variable factor, just like I did in the last problem. I'm going to set those equal to 0, so x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 12 equals 0. I subtract 4 from both sides. I get x equals negative 4. I add 12 to both sides. I get x equals 12. So my answer is x equals negative 4 and 12. Negative 4 and 12. So hopefully you're feeling pretty comfortable with factoring. Otherwise, it's something that we can continue to work on. We can always build our skills in mathematics. We're going to do another example with factoring, 2 more examples with factoring, and then maybe a try in the next video.